everyone, it's Sonia with So On and So Forth, and today I wanted to show you how I quilt leather. And I have this beautiful lilac messenger bag that I quilted, this lambskin leather that I got from Springfield Leather. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I quilt leather using thermolam. Keep in mind you can use automobile headliner, you can use low loft or high loft batting, and you can also use foam. It just depends on the puffiness of your quilting that you're after. Today I use thermolam. I like the loftiness of it, and it's what I have on hand. So you can see that it still gives the messenger bag a little bit of structure, but you also have that nice softness that you would expect from a lambskin leather. So you can take my techniques that I show you today and make the same diamond shapes. You can make the diamond shapes smaller or larger, and you can also make chevron shapes. You can do all kinds of different shapes that you'd like, and I will show you the techniques that I use, and I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get started. So after you've gathered all of your supplies, here I am getting my thermolam ready. And what I like to do is I like to make my thermolam or foam, headliner foam, whatever I'm using, bigger than the piece that I'm quilting. And so I am going to go ahead and lay that on top of my batting. And here I have my masking tape. And I am going to cut strips, and I use the edge of the masking tape to line up how I want my stitching to be. In this case, I'm going to be quilting diamonds. So I'll take my ruler, and for this bag, I measured them a ½ inch. So I laid the masking tape against the ruler so that it leaves a ½ inch of space in between each strip of masking tape. It's really important that you use masking tape because some leather, the dye sits on top of the leather, and when you pull off the tape, it's going to pull off the color. Masking tape is a lot gentler, so I always recommend that you take a strip of masking tape and test your leather before you even begin a project like this. You do not want to ruin your project. So I am just going to go ahead and continue laying my diagonal strips of masking tape. And now I will start sewing. On my machine, it goes all the way up to a 5 stitch length, and that's what I recommend, is testing out the stitch length that you think looks good. Here I'm using a top stitch length because I like that look. I don't care for a smaller look when you're quilting. This 5 on my Juki 8700 looks perfect to me, so that's what I use. Always recommend, again, test your stitch length before you even start your project. And you'll just go right along the edge of the masking tape. I'm not sewing on the masking tape, but I'm just sewing right next to the masking tape. And here I'm using my Teflon foot, which I normally always keep on my machine, and it just helps guide that right on through the leather. So again, I'm not sewing on the masking tape. I'm sewing pretty near it, but I'm using the straight edge as a guide to keep my stitches nice and straight, and just sewing along those diagonals. And here's your friendly reminder to always check your bobbin. This time I won at Bobbin Chicken, but especially when you're top stitching, you always want to make sure that you have enough bobbin thread. And whenever I'm quilting, I like to leave my tails really long and cut them later. It just helps the process. And I have changed my bobbin, so especially on a top stitch on leather, I like to test to make sure that my bobbin is loaded properly, my top stitching is what I want it to be. So I just have a test strip of leather. And now I will continue on. And now you can see that side has been completed. So I am peeling off my masking tape, and I will definitely reuse these ones. There's enough stickiness that it will not peel off the leather easily as far as when I'm quilting, so they're definitely reusable. I generally only reuse my masking tape for one project at a time, but you can feel free to save your masking tape and use it for multiple projects. So now I am going to make sure, first of all, that my top stitching looks the way that I want it to look. And I'm going to go ahead and line up my masking tape so that it will start to form the diamonds how I want them. You can, at this point, determine how you'd like it to look. And you can even make them smaller. If you wanted to make them a 1/4 inch at this point, you could. I just chose to leave them at the 1/2 inch. So I'm just lining them up using my previous strips of masking tape. that we've come to the end of our quilting, I'm taking the masking tape off, and I will reuse that for the other exterior and the flap. I wanted to mention at this point that some people do use marking tools when they are quilting, and they'll take their ruler and draw a line on their leather. I prefer this way because I just don't want to take any chances that, even though I've tested my leather, that the markings won't come off. So here are the diamonds. You can see that a little bit now that the camera went into focus. And at this point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to base stitch within my seam allowance, so just very, very close to the edge of the leather. I'm going to base stitch all the way around the exterior of my leather. And what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling all the long threads so that when I cut it, the quilting will not unravel. So this is another reason why I like to keep my threads long, is that when I cut the batting away from the leather, I am also cutting the threads of the quilting. And if I make sure that it's within that basting, caught within that basting, then I can ensure that my quilting is not going to unravel when I sew this whole thing together. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like,